really what we're trying to do is move you into the control stage. Now, control is a byproduct of order, and the opposite of order is disorder. And so when you are in a state of chaos is because there's disorder. And so what we're trying to do in the midst of chaos is we're trying to bring about order, and then you automatically will segue into a feeling of control. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max, I'm your host, and I'm the CEO here at Smith & Sons, and I'm the founder of Elite Business Advisory, a business coaching company for general contractors. Great to have you along for the ride. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. I appreciate you just checking us out. And if you're a long-time listener, it's great to have you back in the house. I appreciate your ear. Love to have you around, and love listening to your comments and getting your emails. It's my oxygen. Like and subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. Don't forget to, if you've got any comments, preferably good ones, but comments nonetheless, drop them below. And if you're on YouTube, and if you are in a position where you feel like being nice, then we would love some sort of review on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen to your podcast. It helps us get the word out, because with a failure rate of 50% of builders and general contractors going out of business in the first 5 years, we really need to do something about that. So, guys and gals, great to have you along for the ride. Be sure to jump across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. Answer the 3 questions. If you're a good sort, I'll let you in. We want to make that community a place where there's some camaraderie, some collaboration. And, if you've got any questions about what you're doing in your business, that's a great place to start. It's a really good community all over the world, which is exciting. Right, I think that's about the long and the short. If you want to talk to me about what's going on with Elite Business and some coaching, get across to elitebusinessadvisory.com and check out the website, click on book a consultation. It's a no obligation, free 30-minute strategy session just to chat a bit about your business and how I might be able to assist you in that regard. Limited spaces are available. We're starting to hit our limit. So, look, if you're not in a position to do that too, you might want to check out the Silver Bullet Academy. I think it's about $65 US per month, and you get access to a bunch of videos, a bunch of resources, and that might be a really good segue into a full-blown customized coaching role with yours truly. But would love to have a chat with you nonetheless. Okay, I think that's about all the housekeeping. Let's get after it. As usual, steak and potatoes, that is all we serve here. We don't get, all tricky. We just want to bring value that you can pretty much execute or use or deploy, or at least start thinking about changes within your business that are going to help you be more efficient, implement better systems, be better at recruiting, better at leadership, all those kinds of things that it takes to develop, a business. It's funny because a lot of the guys that I deal with, some of them have, really good, strong lead generation, good reputation. Where they struggle with is recruitment. And so, really recruitment is off the back of good leadership, because dealing with people is by far our greatest challenge. And that doesn't matter whether, doesn't matter what industry you're in, it pretty much, finding good people is one of the big challenges. But you've got to make sure you're the right leader as well. We come off the back of a 6-part series, and I really like the idea of that because there's consistency in the information that, rather than doing one-hit wonders, which we've done a lot of, and they're not bad, but I just wanted to start formulating something that's more organized with a more targeted view of an area within your business that you might want to work on. And so hopefully this next 3-part series is going to be exactly that. And I think you're going to like this, because really what I talk about on this show is a lot to do with what I'm doing in my day job. And it's not just a side hustle. There's operators, and there's, big revenue targets that these guys are setting out. And, sometimes there's these blocks or hindrances to efficiency within the business. And so I like to talk about the fact that some of us might be in a creation phase, and that's fine. You're just getting everything set up. But then once you launch the business, you go into a phase of chaos because you didn't really know what you had to set up. And that's what we're trying to do here on Business for Builders show, is to try and really bring to your attention, create some awareness around what is required. And that way it helps you maybe set the business up better before you launch. And then once you're in that stage of chaos where it's just like, there's stuff going on and there's all of these kinds of challenges, really what we're trying to do is move you into the control stage. Now, control is a byproduct of order, and the opposite of order is disorder. And so when you are in a state of chaos is because there's disorder. And so what we're trying to do in the midst of chaos is we're trying to bring about order, and then you automatically will segue into a feeling of control. And so guys, think about that as we go through this next series. There'll be less intro in the next 2 episodes because of what I just outlined. But we'll dive deep into this, and this is going to really help. So what am I going to be banging on about over the next 3 episodes? What I'm going to talk to you guys about, we all know that you can build stuff. That's not a problem. But the preliminary or the pre-construction or the sales phase of your business is where I get a lot of the guys that go, Max, I'm just flat out confused. I really don't know my ass from my elbow, and I don't know what to do. And there's a whole bunch of systems that I don't really understand. And then there's a psychology as it relates to the sales process and why we do what we do. So what I'm going to focus on is what we have called, and a big shout out to Pat, one of my elite business clients. We jammed around this for a long time. And it in Australia, because I'm obviously an Aussie, and we have what we call a preliminary agreement, preliminary building agreement. And that makes sense to you and I as builders and contractors. However, to clients, they might go, so what's that about? And so what we're trying to do is just stand back and maybe just coin it with a different phrase. And we're going to refer to this a lot going forward, because I think what I'm trying to do is take something that is complicated, and I want to simplify it, and so that it becomes second nature to you, and you're as confident in the pre-construction phase as what you are in the construction phase. Really, guys and gals, I think if we can get comfortable with the sales process or the pre-construction phase, I think we will feel like, because we've established order, the natural byproduct is going to be that we feel we're in a state of control, which is good. Now, so what we want to do is inside of that pre-construction agreement. So when a client goes, okay, so there's a fixed price building contract if you're in fixed price. Now, if you're in cost plus, sure, there's going to be some sort of agreement that outlines the conditions and the provisions for that cost plus agreement. But what we're talking about today is a pre-construction agreement. So they're like, okay, I understand construction agreement, pre-construction. All right, Max, tell me if I was a client, tell me what's involved in a pre-construction agreement. Well, we're talking about an explanation, because that's what the client's going to ask, an explanation around the design, plan, and price that involves a quantity takeoff service where you're creating a bill of quantities. Okay, so those 3 things. Now, you might need to hit that, go back 15 seconds, and maybe listen to that again. But that is the overarching concept that I'm going to try and drill down into over the next 3 episodes, okay? So I basically got a run sheet of 12 dot points, and I'm just going to break it down into 4 points, because I know you guys are busy, and maybe you just want to listen to a short amount of information. Really go ahead and comprehend that. Maybe listen to it again. Maybe that's the good part of having a 4-point. Just go and familiarize yourself with these 3 parts. I wouldn't call them steps, because they're really all part of the one process, the one swing. And so we really want to make sure that we set clear expectations. We want to establish, some sort of collaborative approach with the clients, and then lay the foundation, figuratively speaking, for a successful project renovation, because that's what we do, or new home. We want to emphasize communication, the experience that we have, and obviously an adherence to a well-structured design and planning process. So, like I said, we've got 12 points to get through over the next 3 episodes. I would encourage you to save these episodes. I would encourage you to revisit these episodes and maybe listen to it a couple of times. Because what I'm going to get at in this whole process is that, it's funny, we talk about SOPs a lot, and I'm totally down, but I want you to understand here and now that we've got to understand the overall process, and then we've got to understand the procedure. And then inside of that procedure, then we can have SOPs. So I think for us new guys or our one-man banders, what we've got to focus on is firstly the workflow, how it works, and then a little bit more micro, the procedure that's contained within each of the parts of that workflow. And then for each of those parts within the workflow and the procedure therein, we've then got to look at maybe an SOP to go with that, part of the process. So guys, workflow, procedure or process, and then we want to get into the SOPs on a micro level. So some of these points that I'm going to outline, it's a complete overview from go to woe. What I'm trying to get you to do is understand the concept, and then you can and a lot of that, you can't just learn this by listening. You can get a familiarity with it, which I would encourage you to do. But I'm telling you, you're going to get better at this over a period of years by just doing it and initiating and doing it and then optimizing as you go. And so that's part of the challenge, because I think we all want to go on stage, because essentially, guys and girls, when you go out and meet a client, you're on stage. It's no different to playing rock and roll. You've got to entertain. You've got to be in control. You've got to, be looked upon as the professional and the authority. And so we've got to make sure that in our mind, we know what we're doing. And so this is the problem. If you're out there, every meeting is different because you don't have some sort of procedure in place that aligns with your ultimate overall workflow, then you've got no chance of building SOPs either, okay? So I think whilst we're getting started, this is just a great breakdown. Okay, so let's get cracking. So the 4 points, I've got 4 points for you, right? Some of these are super basic. The initial greeting and demeanor of you, the builder, when you go into the meeting, okay? It's sort of super important. What I would urge you to do before we even meet with the clients, in some way, shape, or form, and mostly it'll have to do with, it'll be, you'll use email to do this. You might set an agenda, and some of those agenda items might be, because I'm telling you that clients will want to dominate that conversation. No, they actually don't go out there to dominate the conversation. You let them, okay? But I've got to give them a little bit of line, a little bit of rope, but then I've always got to make sure I get that conversation back on track, because I've got an agenda, I've got an objective, and there is something that I want to achieve, in the next 30 minutes with the clients. And honestly, guys, the initial meeting really should not go for more than 30 minutes. I don't really need to be there. 45 max, absolute maximum. So begin with a warm and friendly greeting to establish a positive rapport with the clients. Eye contact is super important, okay? I've seen builders that like talking to me and they're looking up at the roof or they're looking down at the floor, and it is absolutely uncomfortable and ridiculous. And it's almost like it's a level of insecurity. See, when I am the authority, my demeanor is I'm looking you square in the eye and I'm wanting to take you somewhere because I know what I'm doing, okay? We need to be in that position. Now, I am old and washed up, okay? But it means I've just done it a lot. That's the difference. See, a lot of my elite business clients and even my Smithies guys will say to me, "I'm actually make it sound so easy." And I'm like, dudes, it's only because I've gone out there and done it enough times. And honestly, sometimes I've done it really badly. And out of that, I do a debrief and I'm like, I shouldn't have said that, or I didn't say that, and I should have, and all this sort of stuff. Now, I don't want you to get stuck in the paralysis of analysis either. I don't want you to be too judgmental. I don't want you to be like me. This is why I'm trying to give you the concept and the overarching understanding so that you can then develop and grow within the confines of your own system. And I'd encourage you to do that, because I didn't want to go and start making this podcast and do it like Gary Vee or Joe Rogan or any of those guys, because that's not me. I take snippets, and there's certain things, it's like a buffet. Knowledge is not hard to carry around. I'll take certain things away and then I'll implement them. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But the overarching emphasis is to make sure that you do you. That's important. Okay, so we want to have that friendly rapport. We want to build eye contact. There's a little bit of small talk craft that can go into it. Nice area, a few pictures of family that might be there. Remember, people will do business with people that they know, like, and trust. Now, if your social media as well is good and your website is good, they're going to have a bit of an understanding as to who you are and your company is before they have even called you, let alone met you on site. So you want to confirm with them what they've seen on your social media platforms or on your website, okay? And I absolutely believe that you are the celebrity in your town. You can be that. And I think too often we want to show and display and demonstrate our work, which is important on our social media. But I think that, there needs to be, in this day and age, a face to your company name as well. And if you are the owner, that needs to be you. This is how pretty much all of my elite business clients, and you might be considering approaching me, you're going to know, and my clients in EBA that have approached me because of the podcast or our TikTok channel, it's because they've got to know and like the way that I do business. And so they, because the offering was there, they've reached out to me and said, hey, Max, would you work with me? And so really for you as a builder, the same thing has got to happen. So when you meet with that client in the first instance, you don't get a second chance for a first impression. Guys, if you are going to meet a client and you're a one-man band, you've got to have some way of scrubbing up before you go and do a meeting. Do not work all day in a hot attic and then go around and do a meeting with a client. Have some sort of system whereby you've got a fresh shirt in the truck, you've got maybe a toiletries bag where you can throw some deodorant on, nothing worse. Some of these guys, we really need to work on some, personal hygiene and some awareness that you stink, okay, physically, because you've been working your ass off all day, and just try and prepare yourself, and at least be presentable when you go there, because I know it's a challenge. You haven't got a salesperson. You maybe don't have the budget to do that. So you've got to be the guy. So you need to create systems around how you offset that challenge that you have. Nobody's saying that you don't have challenges. No one's saying it's not difficult. But at the end of the day, we've got to come up with solutions. That's who we are. We are business owners. We are solution orientated. We take responsibility and we make shit happen. Okay. Then we want to maintain a professional yet approachable demeanor to make the client feel comfortable. I might have talked about this in some previous podcast, but it just comes to mind. Like my stature, I'm not a big guy, but I'm 6'2", I'm almost 260 pounds. If I go and do a meeting with a client, at 4:00 in the afternoon, and it's a 57-year-old female, and hubby's out playing golf or whatever, and they just want to talk about their project, I'm always very aware that I don't want to be distant, but I certainly don't want to feel intimidating to them. So if I was talking to you as a client and, you're a 57-year-old female and, and I'm in her home, I'm in her safe space, then what I tend to do is now if you're on YouTube, you can see this, but what I'll do is I'll turn sideways and then I'll look at the kitchen, or I'll look at the deck, or I'll look at where the addition's going. And I'll stand side on because I want them to be sharing with me without feeling intimidated, and therefore making them comfortable talking to me about. So rather than subconsciously distracting them, I want them focused on, I need you to talk to me about, what it is, what's your project requirements and your goals and things like that. So that's the first point, initial greeting and your demeanor throughout the meeting. Right. Second thing, establish client preferences. Open-ended questions, folks. That is what we have to do. Please don't ask clients yes, no answers. Now, whenever I'm talking to guys, about this in coaching sessions or with my franchised operators, I often talk to them about using, and I didn't get this from anywhere. I just started using it. It's like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, tell me what you love about your home. Tell me what you hate. Now, when you ask that question, that is very open-ended, and it gives them the floor. They can just puke out everything that they want, both good and bad. And it's up to me to make notes as I'm going. Now, there's all kinds of technologies, and I'm a little old school, so I tend to like writing, notes. And I think clients enjoy. If I'm tapping away on my phone, it looks like I'm maybe not engaged. Whereas if I'm taking physical notes, I like to think that they think that I'm really engaged in the conversation, that I'm an active listener. Okay, and so, that's really important that I get them talking. Guys and girls, questions are the answers. You might have heard me say that before. And an open-ended question, tell me what you love, tell me what you hate, it makes it easier for me to just now listen while they just get after it. And they'll give me a backstory, and they'll give me that, what they want to do at Christmas. And this has always bugged them about this house, but they really love the view that's beyond that wall. They just can't see it until they, go to the window in the kitchen, which is annoying. Those kinds of things is what I'm looking for, because they're emotional pain points. They're things that they're running away from. And then they're going to tell me things that they love. And, they might give me Pinterest links or whatever. And I start really picking up on, where they're going. So, we want to gain insights into their lifestyle by doing that, their preferences and any specific needs or challenges. It wouldn't be the first time when I've had, a wife say to me, look, hubby's going to be, in a wheelchair soon, and we've got to open these doors up to 36 inches. We've got to, make sure that we've got ramps and things like that. So as much as they want to do this is their final home, their final reno, but they want to make it livable in considering those lifestyle changes that are happening. And so, it doesn't happen all the time, but occasionally that will be happening. So it's important that we really do establish the client preferences and some of their tastes and the things they love and hate about their current situation in their home. Right. Then I want to talk about project-specific discussions. So, really what I don't want to do is get caught up and delve into the design details at this point. So this is always a little bit of a toughie because I've had guys say to me, "Oh, Max, the last meeting I was in there for 3 hours." Guys, that's because you get caught up doing color selections, right? And so what I need, if I'm going to, and the next point is set expectations on a construction cost. If I'm going to go and talk about construction costs, then I've got to really establish a little bit more specifics around the end result, okay? So I'm going to have to discuss some of the finer details as it relates to the project without delving into the design details at this stage. But we've got to understand the scope of work, the desired outcomes, and any unique features or challenges that they are, focused on. So, without getting into the micro details, so I might say to a client, "Look, Mr. and Mrs. Client, what I need from you, based on what you've told me, what you love and hate, I've got a bit of an understanding of what I think can be achieved, but I just want to run that by you." So what you want to do is you want to extend out there. You want to do an addition over here. You want to knock that wall down. You want to create extra space in your main living by taking out that partition. So that's what I'm getting into is more about, the specifics of the structure more so than paint colors, floor types, countertops. Those. All I want to know about countertops is, do you want post-form laminates or do you want quartz? That sort of thing. That's really the specifics because that has a lot of impact on the price. Okay, and so without getting caught up in paint colors and what sort of stack stone we're going to do on the fireplace, look, we just know there's going to be another mantle, there's going to be stack stone, and we're going to remove the wood burning fireplace for a gas. Okay, that's all I need to know. I don't need the model type. We'll get to that in a minute because, guys, the reason we don't want to do that is because if they say, "Max, we want to do this main floor reno," and I start talking about the price that I think, my understanding, and we've got a massive price variance between the two, all of that chit-chat about design is a waste of time because I've got to get them into the zone, my high and low zone, my estimate as to what I think this build's going to cost. I've got to get them up to that if they're not already there. If we don't, it's a complete waste of time. Okay, so we've got to set expectations around the construction cost. So we've got to clearly outline the importance of understanding the client's expectations regarding the investment required. And so that's the chat. I've had clients that come into this, our reception area here going, "Hey, we want to renovate our bathroom." And, again, after just the demeanor's good, we talk to them about what they love and hate about their existing bathroom. And then I say, "Look, based on my historical data and my experience, I would say your bathroom's going to be between $22,000 and $30,000. We're talking Canadian, okay?" They might go, "Oh, that's a little bit more expensive. We thought it was only going to cost us $15,000. Now, long story short, that client ended up going to contract for, $20,000+ for that job. So I think, like any of us do, if you walked in to buy a motor vehicle, you're always going to lowball. You're not really going to tell the complete truth because you really want to get the most value you can for the money that you're going to invest. And so really what I've got to do is talk about the investment required. I've got to emphasize the need for a realistic budget expectation, which aligns with their vision, because we've talked about, people having champagne taste on a beer budget. And so we've got to establish some realism in around what their taste and what they're envisaging the completed project will look like, and then bring alongside that the investment that's required. And so we've got to have that conversation, not necessarily on the first phone call. If the client on the phone is sounding a little bit wishy-washy, I might bring out a little bit of an estimated high and low just to try and flush them out. And they may not even qualify for a site visit. But if I do go out on site, I cannot leave that site unless you're super nervous about throwing out a high and low because you don't have a lot of confidence in your historical data. Then I understand you've got to go and give it some thought overnight, run some quick numbers through, your estimating software, and then be able to approach them via email the next day. That's fine. But more often than not, I will be able to say, look, this main floor reno is going to cost you between 150 and 225. How do you feel about that? And then I do exactly that. I just stop talking. Because he who talks next wins. Oh, loses. He who talks next loses. Okay, it's a negotiating technique. But, what we're trying to do is guys, the most valuable resource at your disposal right now is your time. And if you don't utilize it efficiently, you elongate your success journey. Okay? So what I want to do is, what I'm trying to do with this 3-part series is separate the players from the pretenders as far as clients are concerned. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again, buyers can be liars. They don't tell us whole truths. They tell us partial truths. I've seen guys that have gone out and got told there's a budget of $15,000 and then end up signing a contract for $114,000. That is a fact. I could show you the notes for that client. And so it's for us, it's about our looking after our preserving or getting the most out of our time. It's why you hear some other business professionals or business leaders say, look, by working an extra day or two over the weekend, and I'm not subscribing that you work 24/7 365, but I know that when I'm in the office on a Saturday and a Sunday, and this is something that I'll close out with, something to consider, I spend 5 days a week more often than not working in my business, as you do. And on the weekends, I find myself like, I don't want to get caught up in operations, working in the business on weekends. I like to block that time out where I can relax. If I'm in the office, it's usually by myself. There's no interruptions. I can think clearly. I don't lose my train of thought. I've come to the office already because I've done up a checklist that I want to achieve the next day from, in the day prior. So I'm very calculated in my approach because the time is what, so if I work 26 Saturdays, in the year, and it's working not just in your business, but it's working on, and I think that's where the differentiation has to come. 5 days a week, I'm in the business. 1 day a week, I'm on the business. You've just spent 26 days working and developing systems, like understanding your workflow. What are the procedures that are contained, inside of that workflow? And what maybe you build an SOP. You might have built 26 SOPs for the year. That's great. And so the time is what we can't get back. So the last thing you guys want to do is go and do a meeting and then come away from a meeting not having an understanding of what sort of investment they are able to make, forget about prepared to make, but are able to make, and then go and doing all this work for free. And so when we talk about, the work that we do pre-construction, it's as important as the work that we do in construction. It's just most of us don't get paid for that. And so by creating a workflow and procedures and even SOPs to do with that, what we're doing is we are validating or we're demonstrating the value upon which we can then ask a fee for service. So, to wrap up, I need to have a drink. Initial greeting and demeanor is super important. Establish client preferences. That's point number 2. Point number 3, project-specific discussions. And then the fourth one for today is set expectations on your construction cost. You cannot leave that meeting, even if you throw a number out there and say, look, I think this is going to be between 150 and 225, but I will confirm with you. I'll go back, I'll run some numbers, I'll see what I can come up with. Even if you can do that, it just gets people talking. Once you've broken that ice, it's super important. Because you want to separate players from pretenders. Hope that helps, folks. Don't forget, shoot across to Business for Builders VIP Facebook page. Get across there and get involved in that group, guys. If you're experienced, I'd love to have you. If you've not got a lot of experience, would love to have you. If you're a subcontractor, love to have you. If you are you're an employee of a construction company and you're thinking about going out on your own, we'd love to have you as well. Don't forget, leave a comment, like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Get across to elitebusinessadvisory.com. If you want to book a consultation with me, we can work a quick strategy session to see where you're at. Failing that, get into the 21 Silver Bullet Academy. It costs you a couple of cases of beer per month. And you can grab all that data and all the video and use that to establish a foundation if you're not able to sort of entertain customized coaching for contractors. But all that being considered, guys and girls, keep your chin up. More profit more in 24. And we will catch you on the next episode. Go build a kick-ass business. Cheers, guys.